Good morning, everyone. It's the Great White Stoke coming at you from the Great West Coast, doing a follow-up video to Backwoods, the Big Norski, about whether or not the gun community is a LARP. And we're going to try to do a one-take, hot take here. And I think that the LARP in the gun community on YouTube is especially pervasive, and I want to remove a certain subset out of this group, and that is ex-military people. And by ex-military people, I mean dudes that were on the front line and had to rely on a firearm. I'm not talking about the load masters, the cooks, the paper pushers, the mechanics, the drivers, any of those people, the water filtration people. I'm talking about the people on the front line depending on a tool to help them survive. Now, moving past that, when we're talking about guns, right, I think that what we see on YouTube is a lot of fetishizing in a consumerist mindset. When you get down to it, a gun is a tool that the founders understood was a means of defense against child fucking tyrants, which is what we have now. But you have a large group of people who've never been in the military, can't see their genitals without a mirror, sit on ass all day, have no real skill outside of, like, you know, a trade or what have you, that would require their need of a tool for their survival. Now, you have people that hunt that require said tool. You have people living in rural areas that require said tool in the event of, say, a big fat 3-foot diamondback rattlesnake is 10 feet off your porch, and you've had to pull the cat away and wait for dad to get home to figure out what we're going to do with it. And after you've blown the head off, you're going to keep the rattle and make a necklace or something out of it to honor this animal. But for the most part, you have grown men and women purchasing these tools in a fetishistic manner and then talking about these tools, and they'll throw out, you know, numbers and figures and stats on these, but they're coming from people who have never ever had to really rely on the said tool. They're just buying it and drooling over it and fantasizing about their fetish, about what's going to happen if A, B, and C happens. Meanwhile, they're never out of the suburbs. You know, they've got mental health issues, gender dysphoric issues, you know, body dysmorphic issues, substance abuse issues, people with, like, issues that are fetishizing a tool. And let's put it another way. If it wasn't a gun, right, what would it be like if dudes were purchasing skateboards, brand new skateboard decks, brand new trucks, brand new bearings, brand new wheels, and brand new grip tape, and the hardware to assemble it all, and they didn't actually skate? So they would build this skateboard, and then they'd get on a video and they'd talk about how, oh, well, this creature deck is superior to the deluxe deck because of the concave and the steepness. And, you know, studies show that when you're going to ollie over a high obstacle, you want a steeper concave. Meanwhile, they don't skate, right? At all. They're just going out there and they're buying it, and then they're drooling over it and fetishizing it. They've never skated before. They have no plans to skate, but they've bought the skateboard just in case they happen to go by a skate park, and then they would use it. And which is just asinine, because no one buys a skateboard and keeps it on them and then says, you know, just in case, you know, I'm at a skate park, I'll use it. Skateboarding is very difficult, right? Let's put it another way, right? On another tool, right? Dudes buying pneumatic nailers, a pneumatic nail gun, right? Now you got dudes who actually, you know, are in the construction trade and are actively out there in the field framing up houses, if you will. And then you got dudes suffering from the same issues as listed before, who don't build, who aren't ever going to build, but they're going to go out and they're going to buy a Brad gun, and then a 16 penny nail gun, and then maybe a bigger one, and then they may even get like you know, some $80 hammer, right, as the equivalent to a sniper rifle, and they're not going to build anything. They're going to just keep it in the case, and they're going to make videos about how accurate this nail gun is, how many nails per minute it can go, the lifespan of the components. And, you know, the more adventurous ones might actually get out like a 2x6 and fire through nails through the board as proof of what they're stating. But it's all fetishistic, consumeristic behavior by the suburban man suffering from Western ineffectual male syndrome. You got dudes out there, and quite a few, who have no intention of doing any construction, any skating, or any shooting, but they're buying something because this is what the poverty mindset does. They want to be able to participate in the mart of consumerism because it's a nice dopamine shot. You know, you got dudes, and I've got a buddy, right? He purchased an AR. What kind of AR? A pinned magazine rifle, right? So if you want to reload this AR, you got to detach the pin, swing it open, and then load the mag that is permanently attached to an AR. Why would any grown man purchase such a pussified, limp-wristed rifle? Because he can hold it in the mirror and jerk off and goon out to what ifs. Meanwhile, he lives in a good neighborhood, right? Never goes out into the wilderness, never takes it out to shoot it, so he's not even familiar with like what it could do, let alone operate it under a stressful situation. And for every dude out there buying guns and then rubbing their dick all over it, or, you know, their, what was a dick, right? Maybe their newly attached tits. Very few are actually engaging in the sport of firearms, like participating in, timed shooting, if you will. I got a buddy who's like getting into that now that he's getting older. He's doing, the pistol competitions and what have you. Going to Thunder Ranch and learning how to learning about concepts, combat concepts, how to act in a situation, where to put it. Essentially learning gun fu, if you will. But that's the hard part, right? And Western man, especially those suffering from Western ineffectual male phenomenon or syndrome, if you will, they don't want to participate in reality. It's much easier to just purchase the damn thing and then go online and then goon out with other dudes who have no intention of ever using that thing unless someone's breaking down their door at 3 a.m. And even then, the odds of that happening are few and very far between. They're also fantasizing about some type of grid down total collapse, and they're going to be some like group with their bucket of soy protein freeze-dried survival food. People are out to lunch. Now, there is another subset who I will say probably are excluded from that, and that would be historians who have a very real academic interest in the development of firearms throughout the ages. For the most part, a firearm is a tool that the founders wanted us to have so that we could blow the child fucking tyrants out of their shoes. And it's not just child fucking tyrants. It's your local and state tyrants. It's the sheriff that turns a blind eye to their deputies engaging in hit and run DUI accidents, rape. It's for the city councilmen who were threatening shop owners with jail if they didn't shut down with COVID. There's a very real, pejorative, if I will. What's the word I'm looking for? Old-timey saying that in the Old West, people were much more polite because everyone was wearing an iron. And, cowboy movies like to glorify the shootouts and whatnot, but that was all very few and far between. But back then, you had a very real need for the firearm because the peace-loving, kumbaya drumming Native American all too often wanted to scalp the men, rape the women, and then steal the children, where they would turn the boys into their slaves and the females into their concubines. So there was a very real need to have some iron back in the day because of the peace-loving, kumbaya drumming Native Americans. And also because of cattle rustlers, etc., etc. Oh, well, and the errant bear that you would run into and the random rattlesnake. But for the most part, the gun community is a big-ass LARP. And frankly, we deserve better. Heavy-set dudes running, talking about guns is, it's exhausting and it's insufferable. Men should know how to fight with their bare hands and should be ready to take an ass whooping if they get bested. And because modern Western suburban males don't do that. They're all engaging in fantasy, fetishizing, gooning, LARPing. But because it's a gun, right, I guess people turn a blind eye to it. Anyway, those are my thoughts this morning. I hope you guys are doing well. I actually had a dream about Savage the other day, and that he was like leaving some long goodbye letter to me with like a bag full of Taco Bell. So bizarre. So bizarre. Hugs and kisses. Take care of your health. People want to know like how I keep myself in shape. Listen to Dr. Berg, Dr. Ken Berry. They got some really good stuff on how to get your health right and your thyroid on set. Word to your mother. Peace.